Happy Library Wednesday, boys and girls. Today for library, we are going to focus on our vocabulary. As you know, we normally review all of our vocabulary words at the beginning of each class, so it is probably about time that we go ahead and review those. For the story time today, though, we are going to do Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parish. This was one of my favorites as a little girl, so I really hope you enjoy it. When we are done reading the story, we will go over the vocabulary words together, and then I will tell you what your assignment is. I hope you enjoy story time. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here. But I made a list for you. You do just what the list says, said Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers. They drove away. My, what nice folks. I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks. But I must get to work. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. Amelia Bedelia stood there a minute longer. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies. So Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little of this and a pinch of that into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia. That's done. Now, let's see what this list says, Amelia Bedelia read. Change the towels in the green bathroom. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. Those towels are very nice. Why change them, she thought. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must do just what the list told her. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. There, said Amelia Bedelia. She looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Did you ever tell such of a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture, but to each his own way. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. Well, look at that, a special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. My, how nice it smells. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes. That's what it says. I'm not much of a hand at drawing, but I'll try. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. Amelia Bedelia marked off about the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. She switched off the lights, then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too? Just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have a lot to learn. My pie! Exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. She hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. Then she looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups. She filled them with rice, and Amelia Bedelia measured that rice. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. Then she poured the rice back into the container. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the icebox, and please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed that fat before she put the steak in the icebox. Now, I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. The folks are back, she said. She rushed out to meet them. Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside? Asked Mr. Rogers. The list just said to put the lights out, said Amelia Bedelia. It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get too aired. Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes, said Mrs. Rogers. I did. See, said Amelia Bedelia. She held up her picture. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. The furniture, she cried. Did I dust it well enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. That's such a nice dusting powder. Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. I say, he called, these are very unusual towels. Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. Oh, my best towels, she said. Didn't I change them enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. I'll cook the dinner. Where is the rice I asked you to measure? I put it back in the container, but I remember it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. Was the meat delivered? Asked Mrs. Rogers. Yes, said Amelia Bedelia. I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice. Mrs. Rogers rushed to the icebox. She opened it. Lace! Ribbons! Oh, dear, said Mrs. Rogers. The chicken. You dressed the chicken? Asked Mrs. Rogers. Yes, and I found the nicest box to put him in, said Amelia Bedelia. Box! Exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was so good, Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. Lemon meringue pie, she exclaimed. I made it to surprise you, said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay, and so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say undust the furniture, unlight the lights, close the drapes, and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steaks with lace. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. The end. So that was my favorite story growing up as I was a little girl, just because when Mommy and Daddy gave me things to do, I used the excuse to maybe do them a little way that I wanted to do. But like I said, today for library, we are going to review our vocabulary. We haven't been over all of it in a while. So let's go ahead and go through the list, and then I will show you what the assignment is for today. So boys and girls, we have what an author is. So the author writes our stories, right? Then there's the illustrator. The illustrator doesn't write the stories, but they do draw the pictures for the stories. We have our publisher, who takes the words the author writes, the pictures the illustrator draws, and they put them together to make a book. So the publisher makes the book. We have fiction versus nonfiction. We did this last week. So nonfiction means it's real. You're going to learn something. And fiction means it is fake. It is not real. It was made just for us to enjoy it. Characters are the people or animals in our story that the story is about. We have setting. Setting is when and where it takes place, okay? So right now, I am inside my office, that is inside my house. In the when, it is daytime, it is April, and you could also say that it is spring, okay? And then the 3 parts to a story: beginning, middle, and end. And we need them in that order, right? Beginning, then middle, the end, okay? Now, these next few, my kindergartners might not know, but the first graders, we have been over these. Plot. Plot is what the story's about. We are keeping plot nice and simple for you guys. We will expand on plot when we get to 2nd and 3rd grade. So right now, all I want you to know is plot is what the story's about. Next up would be our nonfiction text features. So we have worked on these. The table of contents. That is at the front of the book. If you are looking for something in particular, so say we are reading a book about sharks, but specifically we want to know about shark teeth. So we would go to the table of contents and we would find shark teeth, and then it would tell us what page that we could find that, right? So that way you don't have to read the whole book to find the one thing that you want, right? Then bold words. So those words, they're nice and bold. They don't look like the other words. And that tells us that that word might be a little hard. We might not know what it means, but that the book will tell us what it means in the back of the book in the glossary. So the glossary is in the back of the book. It is going to tell us what those hard words mean. Those are our nonfiction text features that we have gone over so far. That is our vocabulary. So for the assignment today, kindergarten and first grade, you will have separate ones, but they're also the same. So you'll each have a dice that I have made up here. Each side of the dice has words on it. So what you're going to do is you're going to print these off. If you do not have a printer, please just go over the words. I will print up a list for you to look at. But if you do have a printer, what you're going to do is you're going to print it off, cut it out, tape it together, and then with your parents, I want you to roll the dice. And it landed on characters. So you would tell your parents what characters are, okay? So characters are the people or the animals in our stories. Roll it again. 3 parts of a story: beginning, middle, and end. All right? So go ahead, do these. Again, kindergarten and first grade, you will have separate ones because our first graders, we have expanded a little bit of our vocabulary. I hope you are all doing well. I miss you terribly. I cannot wait to see you all. Go ahead and send me pictures of playing with your dice or simply rehearsing your vocabulary. You could also do flashcard parents if that works for you. Again, I will post the vocabulary list for each grade if you do not have a printer. Please take care. I will see you soon. See you next week.